Hello there, everybody. How's it going? How you doing this fine Saturday near the very end of the year? Can you believe it? 2024 is almost over. Wow. Well, uh, even though this is the last Archaeological Discoveries live stream of the year, we're going to keep going, of course. But even this month, even in the month of December, we have things to talk about. And of course, I don't just discuss things that have just been dug up, although that's focus, but also things we just found out about things that were dug up, right? So new studies that have been done on things that had been found where we find out something new about it. So it should be very interesting. How's my sound coming through? All right. Am I loud and clear? Where are you all coming in from? I know Honky Tonk Tennessee must be from Tennessee, but I know we have other people here too. Jack, hey, Jack Silver's here. Jack recently came on a trip with me to Egypt. And we had a great time. All that's on video and will be coming out in 2025. All right, Glenn, of course, I know Glenn's from Michigan. Yeah. Chile. All right, young Diego. Excellent. Stoic Dissensions from the Bay Area in California. All right. Carl's from Sweden. All right. We got VT from UK. Metal Militia from Toronto. RFL 1976 from Scotland. Zan Looney from Australia. We got Stuart from Dartmoor. Whipalicious is from Georgia in the US. Great. We got people from all over the world. Did I just go dark? I guess I'm okay. I just bought a curtain for that window because it's so annoying. Didn't come yet, but next month I will have a blackout curtain on that window because obviously it's annoying, and I realize that. Hey, Brent Lee's here. Hey, Brent, how's it going? We got someone from Canada, India, a few people from India. All right, Brooklyn. Great to see it. Minnesota. All right, well, let's get into it. I've got several discoveries I want to tell you about this month. So let me pull up my screen here. And I guess I'll just be off here in the corner. Unless you like it like this. Maybe I'll do it like that. Okay, so anyway, this first one is an underwater discovery from this month. A shipwreck off the coast of Sicily, all right, dating to the 5th or 6th century BCE. So this is, of course, in the this is prior to the Roman Empire, okay? Although Rome existed, all right, but the empire has not been created yet. It was when Carthage was very important, but it's a 2,500-year-old wreck. They found underneath sand and rocks. They're working on an underwater excavation project already. This is at the southern tip of the island. And they said that they discovered a hull built using an on-the-shell construction technique, a simplistic early shipbuilding method often traced to populations around the Mediterranean. And here's some photos they found of some. Those are what you're looking at there, the thing with the hole in it. That's an anchor, an ancient anchor. That's what they used to look like. Pretty cool. I mean, archaeology is cool in itself, but can you imagine doing underwater archaeology? Oh, man, that's really cool. And who knows? We may find an ancient, well, we actually do find ancient cities down there sometimes. But yeah, so you can read up about that. I'm going to put all the links to these below the video afterward. I don't do it beforehand because then everyone just goes and clicks on them and they don't listen to me. We can't have that. All right. Well, anyway, let's look at another one here. Frankfurt silver inscription, the oldest Christian testimony found north of the Alps. Now, the reason why this is an interesting find is they found a silver amulet. It's very small. What's it say? 3.5 centimeters in size. Okay. And it is from the 3rd century CE or AD, right? So this is from between 230 and 270, it says. Okay. Now, this is the period before Christianity even became legal in the Roman Empire. All right. This is in the days where there aren't that many Christians at all. Okay. Very small number of Christians in the Roman Empire. And here we have, north of the Alps. So that's just north of Italy. It's not even that far north, right? Here we have evidence of Christianity. Okay. It says here, the finds here are around 50 years younger than any that previously had been found before. They did expect that there were probably Christians living in what was called Gaul at that time, in Upper Germania, but they didn't have any proof of it or anything like that. So it's kind of an interesting find. I think it says that in the northern Alpine regions, I think they only had things dating back to about the 4th century. So this is pretty cool. Remember, Constantine legalized Christianity in 313, I think it was. So this is several decades before that. And they even have a translation. The question marks there mean there's some uncertain words because it's not very clear. You can see a bit of the inscription there in the photo. In the name of St. Titus, holy, 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 in the name of Jesus Christ, Son of God, the Lord of the world, resist to the best of his ability, all siegers set back. Anyway, it's a protective amulet, right? It says, this rescue device protects the person who surrenders to the will of the Lord Jesus Christ, etc., etc. So kind of interesting to have this. So yeah, evidence of Christianity in the 3rd century north of the Alps. Bubonic plague discovered in ancient Egyptian mummy DNA. So this is not just taken out of the ground now. It's a study of an Egyptian mummy that we already had. And in fact, it was in Italy at the, if I recall, it's at the, was it in Italy? Or am I confusing it with another article? Yeah, it's in Italy. Okay. The Egizio Museum. And the mummy is from the 2nd intermediate period or early New Kingdom. So that would put it somewhere around 1600, 1500 BCE. Okay. So pretty early. And they found the bacteria, Y. pestis. What's the full name here? Does it have it? Yeah, Yersinia pestis, which is the bubonic plague, the famous bubonic plague that hit Europe many centuries later. They found it evidence. Now, of course, they found it in Russia already, going back 5,000 years, but that's older. But this is, this is 3,290 years old. Wait a minute. That would only put it at about 1,300. But the 2nd intermediate period, I'm not sure about that. But it has 3290 here, so maybe that's it's just that it's supposed to be from the 2nd intermediate period, early New Kingdom. So I'm a little wondering about that. All right. Well, anyway, so here we have bubonic plague. That means that bacteria has been around for a long time, and it just comes back every now and then. And of course, in the 14th century of our own era, it really hit Europe, but and several other places. But yeah, so they found it in this mummy. So I thought that was pretty interesting too. Let me look at some of your comments here. Let's see. I still use a cinder block on chain to anchor skiff. Sometimes designs do change. Okay, yeah, cinder block will work, right? Carl says the Chinese use very similar style anchors too. Hard to beat a heavy rock with a hole in it until you can forge them out of steel. Sure. Yeah. Selena says, I've followed Nat Geo UW archaeology articles for years. Carl says, let's see. Well, we got a bunch of comments here. I love your work, Doc Miano, says Last of My Generation. Thank you. Thank you. Let's see. Someone from Haryana, India. Let's see. I saw something about a floor of an ancient Christian church found while digging for an extension of an Israeli prison. Yeah, I seem to remember something about that too. Was that earlier? Maybe a couple months ago. Um, let's see. So many comments. Oh, Rad, thank you for the $1.99 super chat. If you have any questions, I'm looking for questions. If you have any questions about any of these, just ask. All right. Let's look at some more then, I guess. Oh, and Pretzel Coatl, thank you. That's a great name. $5 super sticker. I appreciate it. Yeah. Oh, hi, Doctor. I wanted to ask, will you do a collaboration with Abhijit Shavda? P.S. I don't mind the window light. Oh, good. I'm not going to do a collaboration with him. Certainly not. But because I don't think he has much to offer, historically speaking. But you probably saw the video I did about him. That's the genetics video I did. Are there any reports of bubonic plague outbreaks in Egypt? Oh, you mean in ancient sources? Oh, yeah, I forgot. This is in the article, but there is some evidence for it. Yes. Now, where did they put that? Yeah, there's an Egyptian medical text describing, quote, a bubo whose pus has petrified. And some people thought, oh, that could be the bubonic plague it's talking about. And also they found some fleas at Amarna. I don't know why just finding fleas is anything, but that's how it spread, you know. And so they had some idea that maybe they did have the bubonic plague, but they weren't entirely sure. And now they know. So that's cool. All right, here's another one. Abandoned Assyrian capital brought to life in new magnetic survey. So this archaeological site has been around for a while. It was called Dur Sharukin. It was a palace and a city that was partly built. I don't think they quite finished it, by King Sargon II of the Assyrian Empire. And they just did a new magnetic survey of it. And what they found, and basically this was presented this month at the annual meeting of the AGU, that's the Advancing Earth and Space Sciences group. Why is it AGU? AGU. I don't know. But, oh, I'm sorry. That's not what it stands for. Oh, okay. What does it stand for? What does AGU stand for? Anyone know? It doesn't say here. But anyway, they had an annual meeting, and they did a survey of it. And basically what they found is that the place was bigger than they thought. They thought that Sargon had, started building there, didn't get very far before he died. Turns out he got a lot farther than they thought. And there is a link here to this, which shows you an image of the area that they surveyed to show you the size of it. So this is pretty cool, right? Yeah, he died in 705 BCE. So the city was founded in 717, right? So this is like 12 years. How much can you do in 12 years? Well, more than they thought. So I thought that was very interesting as well. Something horrible. Somerset pit reveals Bronze Age cannibalism. Yes, this is in Britain here, in Somerset. So they found human bones. Now, these were found in Somerset 50 years ago, okay? So this is another thing where they found it already, but now they're doing a new study on the bones, okay? There were at least 37 men, women, and children who were killed. This is between 2200 and 2000 BC, so a 200-year period. The bodies were thrown into a deep natural shaft at Charterhouse, Warren. All right. Well, they just finished a major scientific study of the bones. Oh, yeah, they were unearthed in the 1970s. Many of the victims' skulls were shattered by the blows that killed them, and leg and arm bones had been cut away after death to extract the bone marrow. What do you think that means, folks? Hand and feet bones show evidence of having been chewed by human molars. Oh, yeah, we're talking about cannibalism. Nothing on this scale of violence has previously been found in early Bronze Age Britain or any other time in British history. So they're calling it the Charterhouse Warren Massacre. Yeah. Here's Charterhouse Warren. This is what it looks like. Okay. They don't know why this was done or anything like that, but nearly half of the bones were those of children. So this suggests an entire community had been wiped out in a single, immensely brutal event. Yeah. Wow. Can you imagine that? Who ate them? I don't know. I don't think they can tell. But yeah, brutal. Oh, Jax, thanks for the super sticker. I appreciate that. Metal Militia says, yummy. Some historians believe that Sargon was Nimrod. What do thou thinketh? That's Sargon the First you're thinking of. Sargon the First. And actually, I'm kind of persuaded by that, that Nimrod is intended to be Sargon the First. But this is Sargon the Second. So this is from quite a long time later. Yeah. Any chance we could see any videos talking about lost ancient literary works from Greek Hellenic authors, like the lost works of the epic cycle, and about their authors? Yeah, that might be possible. Sure. I did do a video a couple years ago about lost books, but I think it was about the whole world. I didn't center attention only on Greece, but I may have mentioned a few. I don't know if I mentioned any of the epic cycle, but those are interesting. So it might be a good topic, young Diego, for me to do. Sure. Do they think that the humans were farmed? I did not. Did it say that, Carrie? I did not notice about. Oh, that would be terrible. Did it say that? Let's see. I didn't notice this. That would have been awful. I don't think that would have been too difficult. Wouldn't it have been too difficult? I think it would have been too difficult. And there's not evidence of long-term cannibalism, right? It seems to have been one big event. So maybe it's just people, that's what they do to their enemies or something like that, trying to show their dominance. My guess is hunger, says RFL. Well, I don't know. Sometimes people do that just to make a statement. Yeah. Have you had bone marrow pie? Supposed to be good, huh? I've never had it. Would you recommend an archaeologist work in Turkey as a government cooperative? I don't know enough about it, Hawk. Now, I've been to Turkey, and archaeology seems to be very thriving there. It's done through the universities. I don't see any major issues going on there, but I don't know all the insider details, Bit off topic, but were you forced to have a major declared prior to starting college? The ability to choose classes doesn't seem universal. P.S. Why was the first plague named after Justinian? Okay, second question first. It's because of the time. It's just because of the time. There was a plague in the time of Justinian. That's why it was called that. As far as your first question, no, I didn't have to choose. Well, are you talking about undergraduate or graduate work? If you're doing graduate studies, yeah, you do need to know your major. If you're doing undergrad work, you don't have to. But when you're doing graduate work, you have to go into a program. You're not applying to a school. You're applying to a program. So you got to know what program you want to do. Yeah. Is there any instance where they did farm humans? I don't know, Abby. I really don't know. I haven't heard of anything. Yeah. Hello from Pakistan. Come and visit Taxila, Mohenjo-Daro, and other ancient sites. I would love to. Yeah. Maybe sometime in the future. Absolutely. Okay, let's look at another one. Oh, have you left your teaching job? Asked player one. No, I just teach part-time, though. YouTube is now my full-time job, and I do teach my own courses, okay, outside of the university. And since you mentioned it, I'm teaching a course coming up next week, starting Sunday, a week from tomorrow. Bronze blades and bamboo, the history of Imperial China, ancient Imperial China. It covers the period from the Han Dynasty up through the Tang Dynasty. What a period that is, too. And you probably saw I had an ad come out today, the video, that tells you a little bit more about it, but it's going to be pretty exciting. And just for the fact that you are watching me right now, okay, I want to reward you. Below the video, I have a link. And Glenn, maybe you can reproduce the link in the chat for a 15% discount on the class. All right. So if you're interested in that kind of stuff, go and get your discount code. And you can use it or not, but just go and get the discount code. Maybe you will. Okay. All right. Yeah. Cool class coming up. And I will have more. I will have more. All right. Let's look at another one here. Archaeologists, speaking of China, archaeologists unearthed rare fish scale armor from 2,000-year-old Chinese tomb. This man was an emperor for how long? 27 days. This is during the Han Dynasty. That's the one we were just talking about. Okay. 2,000-year-old tomb. He ruled for 27 days. Oh, it doesn't have his years of reign, or his year of reign here. But this is the guy's name is Liu He. Liu is the family name of the Han Dynasty. And as you know, in Chinese names, the surname comes first. So Liu is the family name, and He is the personal name. He was not killed, though. He wasn't assassinated. He was just deposed. Okay. Before that, he was known as the Marquis of Haihun. And they found the tomb in 2011. All right. But this is about the armor, which they have examined now. Okay. And yeah, there's lacquer on it, but basically these are fish scales. I'm assuming, wait a minute now. I just assumed, oh, okay. No, it's called fish scale armor. I don't think because they're actual fish scales. Because they're shaped like fish scales, it looks like fish scales. Yeah, of course it wouldn't be actual fish scales. Okay, it's just called fish scale armor. All right, yeah, but you can see, look at all the pieces. Yeah, it's like all apart, and look at, they're numbered because they're trying to piece it together. All right, yeah. The armor had been made of multiple materials, including iron, copper, and leather. Yeah. The scales are the only documented example of armor made of multiple materials from the Han Dynasty. Yeah, but it's very intricate and shows you kind of the level of craft at the time. Yes. Yes, it does have fish scales in quotes. Okay, so. All right. 13 ancient Egyptian mummies found with gold tongues. And again, don't take that literally. They're not, the actual tongues are not made of gold. Okay. To help them talk in the afterlife, what does it mean, gold tongues? It means these. Okay. Gold tongues and gold fingernails. Yeah, this is a place called Oxyrhynchus. I don't know if you know much about Oxyrhynchus in Egypt. It's in central Egypt. And this is where they found all kinds of writings. These are from the Greco-Roman period, but papyri, okay, from Oxyrhynchus, with all kinds of letters that people wrote, and it's just a great archive of texts. But there's still work being done there. And they found 13 ancient mummies with these gold tongues and gold nails. Okay. They found a burial shaft. At the bottom was a hall with 3 chambers that held dozens of mummies. And it's from the Ptolemaic period. Okay, this is the period when the Greeks were ruling over them. Yeah. They had already found 16 gold tongues, I guess. And they just found some more. The number of gold tongues here is high, which is interesting, said Salima Ikram. Possibly the bodies belong to higher elites that were associated with the temple and animal cults that proliferated in the area. It's possible that gold tongues might have been the vogue for the embalming house in the area. This is what it looks like. And I guess the belief was that, if you had a gold tongue symbolically or whatever, this would help you when you, in the afterlife, when you are judged, be able to present your case in an eloquent way. Yeah. So that's interesting. This painting, is this painting from Oxyrhynchus? I don't know. I expect they put it here because of that, but very interesting. Okay. Well, let's see what you guys have to say. Let me back up a little bit here. Very popular in the East versus Western armor, which preferred fewer, larger plates, generally speaking. Oh, yeah, yeah. I guess the advantage of having the smaller ones is that you can move a little bit more easily, right? But it probably isn't as well as protective as maybe the larger plates. Jim says, interesting YouTube documentary called The King of the Nile, the Shilluk Nilotic tribe, the Narmer palette lives. Are Egyptologists or anthropologists aware of this? Well, I'm sure. I don't know about the documentary, but they usually get ideas for documentaries from the Egyptologists, so I'm expecting somebody knows about it. Sometimes leather scales in parts of China were made from pangolin hide, which makes me sad. We have descriptions and depictions of cataphracts covered all over in fish scale armor, and their horses too. Very cool looking stuff. Oh, yeah, yeah. Tongue bling from way back. Yes. I've heard of born with a silver spoon in your mouth, but this is ridiculous, says Brent. Off topic, but do you plan to be more active in debunking misinformation and disinformation, considering how it is affecting our modern day politics and culture in general? Well, I try to have one come out every month, and I think in 2025, I'm going to really make an effort to make sure one comes out every month. And, of course, I just had one on the Out of India theory. That came out last week, I think. And I have one in the works on the Younger Dryas impact hypothesis. People have been asking me to make that for a while, and that'll be coming out in a couple weeks. So I'll try to keep it up. All right, let's look at another one here. A colonnaded hall with extraordinary frescoes of still life found in Pompei. Yes, excavations are still going on in Pompei, and they found some new frescoes. You can see in this photo, there's the remnants of a colonnaded hall. You can see some of the columns there. And if we come in a little bit closer, you can see some art on the walls. If you're not an artist, maybe you don't know this, but still life refers to not portraits of people and things like that, or of action scenes, but of just things in life. So you might have like flowers or a dinner setting, or whatever. In this one, you can see a couple of fish back there. Let's look at a close up. See, there's some fish here and some squids. And above them, some birds. Yeah. That looks like a little bit. Is that those chickens? Maybe they're chickens. They look like chickens. And here you can see some shells. And I'm not sure what's above. Oh, that's an animal. Yeah, that looks like a pig. Or a horse. That's in that shot. Yeah. But yeah. So this is in Region 9, and they've been doing a lot of work in Region 9 this year. I think last month, I think I mentioned some frescoes that have been found there. So new frescoes are turning up in Pompeii. You think Pompeii's done? We've been digging at Pompeii for a long time, right? But there's still new things because the whole city is there. And they have not excavated the whole city, but they're working on it. All right. People complain like, what's taking so long at Göbekli Tepe? Well, what's taking so long at Pompeii? Every place is like this. It takes a long time. All right. All right. Oh, speaking of Pompeii, there's another thing that was that came up in the news, and that is the date of the eruption of Mount Vesuvius. Now, there's a historical date that's given by Pliny the Younger. He's a Roman writer, and he puts it at August 24th, 79. All right, as when it happened. And but there have been people who've been thinking maybe he's wrong. Maybe he was wrong about the date. And by the way, he oh wait, I think it was his father maybe who died in the eruption. But anyway, some people are saying, well, maybe it was in October or November. And one of the reasons was because they had found this charcoal. Somebody wrote with charcoal on the wall of a building. And where was this charcoal? In 2018, the House of the Garden. There was a note. And it said, the 16th day before the calends of November, he indulged in food in an immoderate way. And the 16th day before the calends of November is October 17th. All right. And they're like, no, yeah, it was after the eruption, but they thought the charcoal would not have lasted that many months. Okay. From August or whatever. Well, Pompeii, people who are working at Pompeii, the park, they did an experiment to see how long the charcoal could last. Okay. And because the inscription was in pretty good condition, but 10 months later, after they put the charcoal up there, it was still fresh and perfectly readable. So they're basically denying this and saying it's totally possible that it could have been written in the summer and lasted until October 17th or something like that. Wait a minute. How does that work? I'm trying to figure out the logic here. If he wrote it on October 17th, maybe it was it the previous October? I'm trying to understand here the logic. They're trying to show that the charcoal could last, but how does that, if he's writing the date, okay, so it's what I said before. All right, so if it's in October that he's writing this, they're thinking like it must have been recently that the eruption happened, but they're saying no, it was actually a few months before. So, okay, it's kind of what I said at first. All right, I confused myself. I've read Pliny. I read Pliny about that guy. I like your little pun there, Pretzelquatl. Pliny the Elder. Pliny the Younger stayed home when his dad asked him to come with him. Ah, okay, yeah. Yeah, I thought it was the older one that died. Thank you for shedding light on the wacky megalith cult of Forster and Uncharted Acts. Yes, well, they have more followers than I do, so I don't know how much light I'm actually shedding on them, but a different kind of light. Let's put it that way, right? Hello, sir. Why can't we find ancient or medieval towns within a city wall, like in India, like China, with preserved buildings other than palaces and monuments? Why can't we find? We can find ancient towns within a city wall. Sure. Do you mean the city wall's still there? Is that what you're talking about, Elliot? I'm not sure I understand completely, but we have found ancient towns within city walls. Like there's no Pingyao, like a city in India. Wait, Pingyao is not in India. Wait, there's no Pingyao like city in India? I'm not sure what you're saying. But anyway, it just depends. And sometimes things are well preserved, sometimes they're not so well preserved. Usually we will have parts of the wall, but we still have found cities that had walls around them when we found parts of the wall and parts of the city. Dina says, wow, so many discoveries this month. Well, actually, almost every live stream we do, about 20 of them or something like that. Yeah. There's a great old school stonemason here on YouTube called Mike Haddock, and he's traveled to many megalithic sites and given his insights. Pretty standard mason stuff in his opinion. Yeah, Mike's got a good channel there. All right, let's look at another one. New evidence for the emergence and the rejection of the earliest state institutions uncovered in Iraq. So this is from a site called Shaik Kora. All right. And you can see what it looks like right there. Right near the water. You can see up on the hill there is the excavation site. Okay. It's revealed new clues about the origins of the world's earliest governing institutions. Now, basically what they have found, and this article was published in Antiquity, the journal called Antiquity. It says that they experimented here. This is very early. This is in the 4th millennium BCE. This is around the same time as like the first cities started appearing. Okay. Well, they experimented with that. A centralization of power, all the institutions you would expect to have an actual complex society, city living, and so forth. And then they decided, we're not that into it. And they decided to go back to what they were doing before. So they experimented with state-like organization and then chose not to do it. Isn't that interesting? Here you can find some bevel rim bowls. These are these kinds of bowls. You'll find them at Uruk and places like that, Sumerian places. They're cheap, as you can see. They're like the Tupperware of the time. But you'll find a lot of these types of bowls in the world's first cities. Okay. And they found them there. They're very roughly made, but they worked well. Okay. And they were used for like big communal meals. Yeah. But they abandoned it all, which is really, really interesting. So that's kind of the work that's been coming out of Shaik Kora. Yeah. I have a feeling, for a long time, Uruk was considered the first city in the world. And now there are places like Brock where that looks to be older. And I think as time goes on, we're going to find probably things that are older than even those places. I don't know how much older, probably not that much older, but, going back probably a couple more centuries or something like that. Who knows? And you might say, well, what about Göbekli Tepe? Well, it's not a city. Okay. It doesn't have the things that they have here at Shaik Kora that show, a state organization. This is what we're talking about. We're talking about when archaeologists talk about civilization, although they don't use this word very much anymore, they always meant this kind of stuff. The first states, okay? Cities, okay, that's what they mean. They don't just mean like a really cool site with a lot of people that made stuff. That's not what they mean. All right, let's look at another one here. New study reveals ancient secrets of the 3,600-year-old Nebra sky disk. Now, this was already found. They found it in 1999. Pretty cool. But what's cool about it is it's the oldest depiction of the cosmos. Well, as they saw it, which is basically the sky. Okay. It's from the Bronze Age. It's dated to between 1800 and 1600 BCE. Okay. And it's from the, oh boy, how do you say this? Unatis? I'm not sure how. If anyone knows how to say that, let me know. It's in Central Europe, and but they've examined how it was made. It's not really about interpretation of it so much, but they examined how it was made. Okay, it's made from copper, tin, and gold. But how did they do it? Right? Well, they analyzed it. Oh, and by the way, you can see here what's on the map. All right, the various stars and all of that. But yeah, they used a warm forging process, and it was very sophisticated for its time. So basically what they're saying is the technique that was used to make this shows that it was not just something that was hurriedly put together or that it was very simple, but actually took a very complex process to make it. And I mean, complex for its time, obviously, for the Bronze Age. So the metal workers at the time had a lot more skills than we thought. Oh, by the way, did you see my my poll I put up a couple days ago? Well, maybe more than a couple days, but a few days ago. And some people didn't understand the question. I don't know if it was the way I worded it, but I was asking, do you think that ancient people were more capable or less capable than basically what we think now? Okay. And the overwhelming majority said more capable. And this is an example of that, right? I think in the poll here on the channel was like 92% said more capable. Yeah, the trend, this is what I'm asking about. You might say, well, I think we're exactly right now. Well, there's going to be a trend. As we get more information, we're either going to find out that we're more capable or that they're less capable. It's not going to stay the same, right? But everybody agreed, more capable, right? And I put that poll out. You might be saying, well, why would you even have that question? Because people in the, what we call the fantasy archaeology crowd, they try to play down what the ancients could do because they want to attribute it to a better civilization from longer before, right? From before the great catastrophe. So they're like, oh, those loincloth wearing savages, they couldn't have done that, impossible. No way they made that. Those Egyptians, they could never have done that, right? So they're thinking they were less capable than what is generally thought, right? When we say, oh, the Egyptians made the Great Pyramid. Oh, no way. There's no possible way. They didn't have the technology for that, This is what I'm talking about. So that's why I asked the question. Because we do find out that people knew more than what we thought, Yeah. Red Baron says they used captured aliens that crash landed by what they could do. Infotainment says likely more capable, not super scientists, but so much of ancient aliens nonsense is a holdover from European racism. Yeah, they had the same brains, says Carl. Things just took longer and people lived shorter lives too, but they had their own Newtons. Yes. If you read Kama Sutra, you will know you still don't know what ancients could do. Well, it's described in detail there in that book, Elliot. Hey, David, do you know about Devdutt Patnaik, who wrote a book on Harappan civilization? No, not specifically that book, but what's the book about? Let me know. They knew different things. For example, about what is edible. Sure. I always think about like the first person to try something, right? Who was the first person that like opened up an oyster, was like, you know what? I think I'm going to eat this. Don't know if it'll kill me, but I'm super hungry, or whatever. And then they're like, oh, good, whatever. But there's always that first guy or the first woman, right, who's going to try something, probably out of desperation. But is there a consensus on if Egyptians used slaves or all paid labor to build the pyramids? Neither actually is true. Okay. It was free labor, but it wasn't slaves. Okay. What do I mean? It was taxes. Okay. Yeah. So the average Egyptian was expected to contribute to the building projects of the government. And they did this by having to, it's obligatory as part of their taxes. They have to give their own labor. They have to work in some way. Okay. Now they all had different ways that they helped, but they had to work in some way for the government projects. And it was also religious, like you're doing it for the gods. And the pharaoh is a god too. So, and so that's how they did it, right? They didn't need slaves because they had the general populace who were obligated to help out. Okay. I'm sure though that there were exemptions and things like that, but basically that's what people had to do. Yeah. The Nebuchadnezzar is the earliest depiction of the heavens, says Scott, and yet Hancock and others tout the great astronomical capabilities of the pyramid builders some 700 years earlier. Well, it's the earliest depiction of the heavens. It doesn't mean that nobody saw what was up there. And it's also the earliest surviving depictions of the heavens. So we may find something earlier, Scott, right? It might be there. It's just that that's the oldest one that has come down to us. Okay. But yeah, there are elements from ancient architecture that show that they had knowledge of the heavens. Okay. We just don't have any of their maps. Yeah. They paid them in beer, didn't they? They had beer back then. They also had generations of tradition to draw upon on the use of their tools and technology, which we don't have, says Ellie. Of course, they could use them in ways that surprise us. Yeah. There's also this recently uncovered city in Ukraine. Ukraine has shown some very large settlements. Now, I don't know what the consensus is about whether it's a city or not, but they are big, and they had big populations. If you're only going by population, then they got it. Okay. I've read that it goes back to about 4000 BC. I think you're right about that. Have you taken a look at the decipherment of the Indus Valley seals by this person called Yajna Devam? Very promising research. I haven't looked in detail at it, but I'm going to let the experts in the Indus Valley look at that, and the linguists. But my impression is that he's just an amateur that's got an idea, and it's not going to go anywhere. But we'll see. We'll see. Thank you for the donation, Infotaint. History is written in the present. As a teacher, how do you or we acknowledge our current cultural biases as we build these narratives? Well, we all know that we have these biases, and there's two different approaches, to this. One of which I don't agree with, which is the postmodern sort of approach, if for lack of a better term, where it's like, well, we're all biased anyway, so what, we can just say what we want. Let's just give our own private interpretations and go with that. Which I don't agree with. I like the other approach, which was like, well, let's try to use scientific method as much as we can to try to eliminate as much bias as we can. We can't eliminate it all, but let's try to be as scientific as we can about it and just understand that about ourselves, and then we have peer review of people with other opinions who can, argue with us, and maybe as we butt heads, the truth will come out. And I think that way is a little bit more reliable. Okay, let's look at another one here. New discoveries at Taposiris Magna. This is near the city of Alexandria in Egypt. Okay. Now, I don't know if you know this or not. We talked about it in some previous live streams, but there's a joint Dominican Egyptian archaeological mission that's been working there under the direction of Kathleen Martinez. She made some of the headlines when she said she went there to look for the tomb of Cleopatra. She didn't find it, but they're still working there. Okay. So there's some new things that have been found this year at Taposiris Magna. Not the tomb of Cleopatra, but you can see some things here in the photo that they have dug up. And one of which is a head. You see that head there? And here's a close-up of it. Now you might say, is it Cleopatra? But they are saying that this representation of whoever this is not similar to what you would find, to what you actually have in Cleopatra images. We have Cleopatra images from ancient times. They're not all entirely consistent, but they're thinking that maybe this is not Cleopatra. Okay. But it's from approximately the right time period. It's from the, Greco-Roman period. Yeah. No, wait a minute. Martinez believes the statuette depicts Queen Cleopatra, but others say no. Okay. So it's one of those things where, how do you prove it, right? You can't really prove it, unless it says Cleopatra on it. But she really wants to find Cleopatra, I think, but there you go. And there's some coins that were found as well. So there are certain interesting things that are being found at Taposiris Magna. Here's the thing: not every archaeologist, I shouldn't say that. Many archaeologists really, especially when they're interviewed by the press, they want to make their discoveries as important as possible because they want people to find out about it, right? So, when I was reading about that inscription, the Christian amulet, what I was telling you about before, oh, the archaeologist was going on about how this is the most groundbreaking discovery ever. You know, it's cool, yeah, okay, but you know, don't overplay it. Don't overplay it. It's great, but you know, wonderful. I'm not saying it's not wonderful, but you know, tone it down a little bit. Okay. All right, let's look at another one. Archaeologists reveal ancient Greek monument with gold artifacts. There's a video on it here. I'm not going to play it, but I'll have the link for you later. They found a monumental building. It's called a Heroon. A Heroon is a shrine dedicated to a hero. Okay, so not a god, a human, but they would venerate this hero after death. And they found some gold artifacts there. Take a look at this. They're very small, but you got some rings and a little figurine here. This is from about, before 300 BC, it says. So, so this is found at a place called, where was it again? Aigio, a town on the Peloponnese Peninsula. Okay, so that's in the south. Yeah. And, this is Eros. This figurine is Eros. You know Eros? Known as Cupid in Roman mythology. Yeah, the god of love. Pretty interesting. All right. And here's another one. Let's talk about this. Archaeologists find an Egyptian temple slotted into a cliff face, probably dedicated to a lion-headed goddess named Repit. But you can see here this temple. Interesting. It's not like a temple that they build on the ground, but they built it into the cliffside, and that's pretty interesting. And it dates to, it's near Luxor on the cliffs of Athribis. Luxor is in the south, as you may know. Oh, I'm sorry. It's 125 miles north of Luxor. So, well, it's still in the south, but not at Luxor. Athribis. And it was built between 144 BC and 138 CE. Wait a minute. Whoever wrote this mixed up their designations. You either say BC and AD, or you say BCE and CE, right? But anyway, this is a couple 100-year period here. Here you can see the whole area. There's a lot at Athribis, not just this temple. And here is the entranceway to the temple. Yeah. They know it's dedicated to Repit because you can see Repit depicted. Oh, here you go. Oh, no, that's not her. This is Horus. Oh, no. A Deccan with a falcon's head. Oh, it's not Horus. I see I was going to say a Raharakti because the sun on top of his head, but that's not him. A Deccan, a star that enables time to be measured at night with a falcon's head. I did not know that about Egyptian mythology from this period. And if you go to the Athribis project, you'll see all the stuff they've been finding there at Athribis. It's been going on for a few years, as I recall. But yeah. Egypt is always turning things up because there's so much there. You think that, oh, they probably got everything excavated already. Oh, no. They've got they've got centuries of work ahead of them in Egypt. Is there any difference between the cradles of civilization in the New World and the Old? Says Amlan. Difference in what regard? Like, there obviously are differences in the way they look, their appearance, and how they build things, and yeah, there's lots of differences between them. Are you asking because you want to know if there's a link between them? There's probably not a link between them. They develop separately. I want to read an article where the archaeologist is like, this isn't that great, but we found it. Yeah, that would be very refreshing. But then nobody's going to be interested, right? And I shouldn't, you know what? I shouldn't poo-poo the enthusiasm because maybe they are enthusiastic about it. You know, when you find something, even if it's like you find a piece of a pot and it has like a name on it or something, you're going to be excited about it. So I shouldn't really, criticize them for that. I just mean, like, every time you read an article, it's either the writer either says it's like the most groundbreaking discovery of all time, or archaeologists are puzzled and cannot figure out this mystery. Those are the two headlines that you see, because that's what people click on. Yeah. Which elements of Egyptian Old Kingdom architecture specifically display astronomical capabilities or special knowledge? Can't really find any. Old Kingdom architecture. Well, I mean, there is this idea that the pyramids they attempted to have them face in a certain direction. Now, maybe you've heard the Great Pyramid is aligned to true north, or is close to being aligned to true north. It looks like other pyramids also, they tried to align to north. They didn't get them exactly right. But this idea of facing east and west, the west is where the sun goes, and the west, of course, is where people go when they die. That's all part of, that's in Old Kingdom architecture, Scott. So there is that, But as far as like really specific stuff, maybe not. Although to align to true north, I think you would need to take the stars into consideration. Yeah. Hero cult. Would love to see videos on the topic, since it dates back to Mycenaean period, and we have a lot of archaeological and written records. Sure, yeah, okay. I heard they started building temples and tombs in mountainsides to reduce the chance of plundering. That's true. There's only one way to get in, right? Devdut says that the Harappan people lived even after, when the cities were abandoned, and the cities were abandoned because the trade with Sumer died out and Harappan people went back to their village. Well, I don't see why that can't be true, because the Harappan people wouldn't have ceased to exist, right? Even after the cities were abandoned, they had to go somewhere, right? So it makes sense. I think everyone probably agree with that. They excavate slowly to keep the industry sustainable long term. A lot of money in archaeology. I don't know if you're being funny, wild alchemical spirit, but there's no money in archaeology. There's no money at all. Archaeologists are poor, okay? And they're just scraping to get some money to funding to do things. And there's so much archaeology to last centuries that there's no reason to go slow for that. I mean, that's not a reason to go slow. The reason to go slow is to do it right. And also because there is no money. Yeah. Let's see. The Egyptians had a knack for deifying and illustrating their constellations even before Ptolemaic period. I suggest The Complete Gods and Goddesses of Ancient Egypt by Richard Wilkinson. Okay. All right. Oh, Pretzelcoatl, thank you for the $5. I appreciate that. Is there a resource you could recommend that explores historical cases of disinformation or misinformation, either deliberate or accidental? I think I need to write one, because I don't know of like a good one that has like everything, There might be, but I don't know of one. And I've been like looking for something like that. So maybe I should write one, huh? All right. Let's go on to another one here. I got 4 more to share with you. How the Roman army repaired its armor far from home. So here we have this Roman armor that was found, I think, a few years ago. But there's a study been done on it now. This is another one of those things where they're studying something that's already been found. This is chainmail. There's a whole horde of chainmail that was found in Germany. And it's corroded, and you can't unravel it or it'll break, right? So it's just there in a big lump. So how do you study it? You have to use technology to do it. And that's what they did here. You can see, of course, from images and art how the chainmail would have been worn. All right. But it's very intricate. All right. This thing weighs 30 pounds or 14 kilograms. Okay. And they use high resolution computed tomography scans, which is an X-ray, to figure out some more about the design of the chainmail. So basically, that's what it was for. It was to get an idea of what it would have looked like unraveled. Okay, and they were able to do it with the scan. And I guess, oh yeah, the thing on the right is what their digital model is of what it looked like. And on the left, of course, is something that looks similar in some Roman art. It's on a sarcophagus. So I thought that was interesting. Speaking of the Romans, they found a 2,000-year-old Roman tomb in the Netherlands. I don't know if this is translated, but notice it says, see it. Okay, all right, let's see it. Okay, so here is the ruins. It's right in the middle of town. And the town, oh, I should have looked up the pronunciation. Is it Heerlen? Heerlen? Not sure how to say it. But there's a soldier's grave that was found right here in town. Okay. I think it's one of those things where they were going to build there and then they found it. Okay. And these pictures are from Facebook, I guess. And here's some of the remains, some of the artifacts that were found in the grave. And it had some writing here. So they even know the guy's name. And his name was Flaccus, as I recall. Where does it say this? Pretty sure his name is, yeah, a Roman soldier named Flaccus. Okay. So, yeah. Oh, here you can see a better image of what it looks like right there in the middle of the city. Can you imagine? Right there underneath. I'm assuming there must have been like a building there already that they demolished. I'm not sure. And then they found it, but very interesting. Okay. A 2,600-year-old sacred room and stone symbolizing the goddess Kubaba, discovered at Ulus Hoyuk. This is in Turkey. And they found, you can see how there's different levels here. So they're going down deeper now into the ground, and they found the remains of apparently a sanctuary of some kind. And in the middle of the sanctuary, there was a sacred room, and in the room was a stone, just a stone. An unusual stone sitting there. And I think you can see it close up here. There's the stone. Kind of reminds me of if you've ever been to Hattusha in Turkey, which is the capital of the Hittites, you will find a green stone there in the sanctuary. And this is the same thing here. This is kind of a custom at the time. You have the sacred stone. Yeah. This is from the Phrygian period, or Phrygian if you want to say that, and it symbolizes the goddess Kubaba. They used to think, and I think I might have even said this elsewhere before, that Kubaba is a predecessor of Kybele, the goddess we know from later, but they seem to be different, so probably not the same. Yeah, so this is 6th century BC, so this is pretty old. So that's an interesting discovery. And the last thing is not a discovery. It is something else. 2 arrested in Egypt after attempting to steal hundreds of ancient artifacts from the bottom of the sea. I shouldn't laugh. It's terrible, but they got caught, so I can laugh. All right, so see, look at all these. These are all, they all were underwater, folks. Okay? Egyptian authorities have arrested 2 men for attempting to steal hundreds of ancient artifacts from the bottom of the sea. Yeah. The men took the artifacts from the seafloor at Abu Qir Bay near Alexandria. Now, remember, Alexandria, a lot has been found under the water there because the city is partly underwater, right? The northern part of the city has gone underwater because the levels of the sea level has risen, and there's a lot of stuff underwater. And if you go scuba diving down there, you can sometimes find stuff. Well, they found a whole bunch of stuff, okay? 448 objects were taken by the men, including 305 coins. Okay, so most of them are coins. 53 statues, 41 axes, 14 bronze cups, 12 spears, and 3 statue heads. Now you might say, see, if those archaeologists worked a little bit faster, maybe this wouldn't have happened. But, yeah, there's, you know, doing underwater archaeology is even more expensive than doing on land archaeology. So, but now, you know, anyway, these guys found this stuff. And They're from between 500 BCE and 400 CE. And the reason why they're that color, they're all kind of turquoise in color, that's from being underwater. That's what happens. Isn't this really cool, though? So now they have these artifacts that they don't know the exact original context, but they kind of have the general idea of where they were. But yeah, those guys would have made a killing, wouldn't they? But not anymore. Red, thank you for the $10. I appreciate it so much. Really helps the channel. Mithril says, in Europe and the UK... Oh, wait. Let me go back to Wild Alchemical Spirit, because she mentioned she's following up what she said before. For clarification, I was not saying the archaeologists themselves are making bank. There's more to the industry, though, and there's plenty of money involved in politics, too. Well, I don't think there's plenty of money involved. I really don't. Politics, yes, it depends on the country. Sometimes countries really want to make themselves look great, right? So they will steer things in a certain direction. This is usually in countries where there isn't a lot of freedom to do academic work. In countries like America, though, there's not, and in the West generally, there's freedom of thought, and archaeologists can say whatever they want, But in other countries, not quite as much, So it depends. It depends. Mithril says, in Europe and in the UK, we tend to get the archaeologist in before foundations are laid on new buildings. Sometimes they stop work on the new building entirely. Yeah, and that's a good practice, I think, because otherwise that would be lost forever, right? These coins are all fake. They look kind of fake, but that's because of that turquoise color, I think. I don't think they're fake. At least the archaeologists are going to come and examine them. It'd be an interesting story if the archaeologists came and examined them and they're like, oh, yeah, these are fakes. But right now, they were arrested for stealing them. So we'll see what happens. Okay? We'll see what happens. Thanks for your live streams, Doctor. It's cool being able to ask questions to a professor. Found you via Mr. Beat collaboration. Oh, yeah, that was a fun video to do. All their people are saying these are fakes. Yeah, they do. I mean, they do kind of have a little bit of fake look to them. But that's the story. We'll see what happens as they're examined. I think the money involved in archaeology is more in attracting tourism and visitor numbers to the country, not in the actual profession itself. That's true. Obviously, there's a lucrative black market in relics, too. Yes, the black market is lucrative. Doing archaeology would tend to be the field where you might learn things about its relationship with money and politics. Yeah. I mean, there are ways to capitalize on sites that are perceived as historically significant, like the Bosnian Pyramid. Yeah, that's true. That's true. Well, thank you, everybody. I hope you enjoyed this month's discoveries. It shows that our knowledge is always increasing as new things are found and new studies come out. That's what I love about history and archaeology. We're always updating because there's all kinds of new information always coming in. And just whet your appetite, I have the end of the year greatest discoveries video coming out soon, probably within a week or two. And it'll have all the greatest discoveries from 2024 in archaeology. So look forward to that. That's a pre-recorded one. Thanks for coming. I appreciate all your support. Thank you for donating to the channel. If you're interested in my class and you want a 15% discount, the link is below the video. So thank you so much, and we'll see you next month.